At a major Hollywood studio, in a corner office of Sub-Basement D, the development executives toil in obscurity to reboot it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Reboot It, the show for the golden age of IP entertainment, where all of your favorite franchises will get reboots. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when, and we are here to show you how it's done. And by we, I mean the Reboot crew. Here they are, you know them, you love them. Mr. Billy Business.
Oh, the Brady Bunch thing. What's up, Bill?
And you know him, now you screwed me up by reacting to my Brady Bunch thing. We're just going to keep it going. Down below me, you know him, you love him, Mr. Ed Greer.
Hey, Bill, what's up, man? This is great stuff.
This is what I'm looking forward to coming up, because you are not going to know where to point.
Oh, I got it. And down in the corner, Mr. Swallow.
Hi, Bill. Am I looking the right way?
Yes.
I literally don't know.
You are.
No one but us is amused at this intro.
Oh, this is 100% all for ourselves.
Yep.
We are the Reboot crew, and we are here today to reboot a modern classic turned kind of out of favor franchise. Currently a very up in the air franchise. I want to say, guys, this is our most sort of current events episode of Reboot It. We are talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. And the reason this is current events, as we probably all know, and as you may or may not know out there, Johnny Depp, a little bit nuclear here in town, has already been kicked out of one major franchise in the form of Fantastic Beasts. And the rumor is he will not be returning for Pirates 6, if it even happens. And so what we're doing here today is completely overhauling the Pirates brand to de-Deppify it.
I think the only way that you can go forward on this franchise at this point is to just go scorched earth on it. I really like the first and second one a lot. The third one, I had no idea what was happening. And then they kept doubling down on the lore, and it just became mumbo gumbo city. I had no idea what was happening anymore. And I feel like at this point, especially if Jack Sparrow is off the table, just blank slate it.
That's a good idea. I think we should blank slate a new T-shirt that's Mumbo Gumbo City with your face on it.
All proceeds go to the Heart Swallow.
Please.
Well, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, look, Pirates of the Caribbean is now sort of this storied franchise, but before 2003, it was a theme park ride. It opened in 1967, and for 40 years, that thing was just churning and burning people through Disney World and Disneyland, and that was it. And then 2003 rolls around, and we have Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, and Keira Knightley teamed up with, at that point, very well-respected blockbuster director Gore Verbinski, and my boys, the godfathers of the summer blockbuster, Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio on the screenplay. And they really captured lightning in a bottle with the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Curse of the Black Pearl, I believe was the subtitle. It then matriculated into 4 sequels, each one more inane than the last, and that is not hyperbole. Like, they started with this very streamlined story of a young man of honor who needs to discover passion, teamed up with a pirate who's overflowing with passion and needs to discover some honor, and they go on a quest for a magic MacGuffin that will end a curse that has been put on the pirates. It was a great bit of blockbuster storytelling, and then every subsequent movie just added more and more nonsense. I don't even know where they were pulling some of this stuff from, but they got so deep into weird sea tales for these creatures, this mythology. Did any of you guys like any of those later movies?
I really like Dead Man's Chest. That's the second one, because I felt like this is about the right balance for me of supernatural and kind of blockbuster fun. But by literally the very next movie at World's End, I was like, nope, you guys lost me. And then they just kept going further and further down.
And look, guys, you know how much I love me some lore, but this was way over the top. They just went they were like, it's like they did a search in Google for stories about the sea, and then they just took all of it and put it in one thing, and then took a few more things and put it in the next thing. And it did get a little ridiculous after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and worth pointing out, too, that for as much as everybody loves him, Captain Jack Sparrow, the character, also didn't exist until that 2003 movie. You know, they really pulled nothing. I would almost say they didn't even pull the aesthetics from that Pirates of the Caribbean ride, because the original Pirates of the Caribbean ride was all set in and around New Orleans, and this took place in the British West Indies. So there was such a disconnect. And the reason I say that is because I just want to throw it out to the group from the beginning. I don't think we are obligated to tell any of the same story. Hard disagree, agree? What do you guys think?
I'm in 100% agreement. I kind of want to, that was its thing. It had its fans. Let's move on to something different.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, just because when you will at some point ask us, what do you think people come into for a Pirates of the Caribbean movie? I think that's just swashbuckling and pirates. So your story and your theme have a fast availability that we'll definitely be grasping on. All we have to make sure we do is have some great swashbuckling and sea stuff, and we're good to go. So
maybe not. I mean, we might as well just ask the question right now. And Ed, we haven't heard a ton from you, so let's start with you. What do you think an audience brings into this? What are we obligated to do or not do?
I think the main contribution that the Pirates movies made was for you to be able to take pirate action actually kind of seriously while retaining the fun of the swinging around from the masts and all this kind of stuff. But the overall tale had actual stakes. Even when you watch the very first pirate movie, you really care for Orlando Bloom's character. There's a lot of good building of his character and very well constructed scenes. I mean, the first movie has a really great screenplay. So I think people don't know they expect it, but they expect a screenplay that will bolster this pirate crap into something modern people want to watch. That's one thing they expect that they don't know that they expect. That's what I'll say. And I also will say, I'm not going to get pirated out of my provisions, my cut of the mumbo gumbo. Okay, I made that up. You're not going to pirate me. That's my treasure.
That's an Ed Gearin joint for sure.
Yeah. So, geez Louise, Billy's face on it. Ron, you're a traitor.
Look, he made it. He made it famous by reiterating it. I apologize.
The reiterator is definitely the first shirt. So anyway, but I said what I said. They do expect us to do a decent story, because just presenting pirate crap to modern people won't cut it. And the first one didn't do that.
Billy, thoughts? What do you think?
I couldn't be in more agreement, which is a horrible place for me to feel. Anytime I agree with Ed, just pack it up. No, I think modern day audiences, look, I don't think people realize how big of a gamble that first Pirates of the Caribbean was, because at the time, doing any sort of sea related or pirate movie was almost the kiss of death. I mean, Waterworld, Cutthroat Island, these were big blockbusters centered around Waterworld kind of tangentially around pirates, and they were big failures. So I think you're right. I think Pirates of the Caribbean had a great script, at least Black Pearl, and B, they had kind of the quirkiness, the almost like a Heath Ledger Joker-ish type performance of Johnny Depp, where it was you have to see this character. Ultimately, I think the co-star of Johnny Depp is what ended up tanking the whole thing. It was Urkel all over again, where Urkel was a really funny side character until it became the whole show. So I think audiences, this sounds condescending, and I don't mean it to be. I don't think they know what to expect at this point. I think at this point, they've only been presented one thing, and that's been the Jack Sparrow show, and the diminishing returns have showed that the Jack Sparrow show's over. It's over whether you want it to be or not. So I think audiences are expecting something different. That's why you're like, should we start over? It's like, absolutely. I think that's what the audience is expecting. You're not going to do Sparrow. You got to do something completely different.
I think the problem with that is it becomes a bit of a double-edged sword, just because while I agree with you, you can't do something lesser than Jack Sparrow. And for as much as that character did Urkelize the franchise, that is one of the great cinematic characters of the 21st century. I mean, you're not off base when you invoke Heath Ledger's Joker.
But I don't think that our job is to try to come up with a character of the same gravitas as Jack Sparrow. Like, who's to say our story will even call for it? I just think like that if Disney, if they're trying to reboot it right now and it's been stalled forever, it's because I think they're trying to figure out like what is the Dollar Tree version of a Jack Sparrow? What's a John Sparrow, a Jane Sparrow? And I think
Ron
that is
Swallow.
a Ron's heart swallow. I think that's just the wrong way to approach Pirates of the Caribbean, is to work backwards from a Sparrow character.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem, though, is that I do think that there's enough people who are going to be like, who are they going to get to replace Johnny Depp? Who's going to be the guy who's the weird, goofy lead pirate? And I think we're running into... Go ahead.
No, I think you're right on. And I think the way you solve that problem is you have to shift the tone. Okay. That first Pirates movie is a symphony of tone. I mean, the balance between comedy, action, horror, adventure, it sings. And I think the problem becomes if you try to achieve that same equilibrium, you're going to pale by comparison, chiefly because you don't have the same ingredients. It's like trying to make a stew, but substituting, you're following the recipe, but you're substituting like weird ingredients for some of your main things. You can't make a movie that feels the same way and then leave out your Jack Sparrow and to a large extent your Barbossa, Jeffrey Rush's character, which I thought was a huge value add in those movies. Like, I think we have to change up the recipe rather than just try to make some substitutions and some tweaks.
100%. I'm on board.
Cool.
All right, so let's dig in a little bit. Pirates of the Caribbean, there's not much story here. What do we think? I mean, it's not even what is this franchise about? Because I don't know if you could answer that. But what do we want it to be about? I mean, what do you do with pirates in the 21st century that's meaningful?
So I have a pitch for that, and I'm totally willing to drop it if that's not the direction we want to go. You all thought I was joking when I said Night at the Museum, but hear me out. Let me explain to you thematically why my mind went there. I think we are in an interesting time in the world, but in pop culture too, where a lot of our things that we idolize and we grew up with are kind of, they're being torn down because we're seeing that those weren't so good. I'm trying to think of a less crass example, but the one that pops in my head is there was a whole generation of people that grew up with Bill Cosby was the father. He was America's father. And then you find out the truth that he's a terrible guy. And it's just like, what do I do with this? So it's like looking into what pirates are. Pirates were awful, like awful, awful, awful. Murders, rapists, terrible. The fact that any kid wants to dress up and be like one of these things should horrify every single parent. So my whole thought was, how do we take this moment in time where we're kind of addressing like, how we view kind of the things that we've idolized in the past, and how can we put that with something like Pirates, which is a great example of like almost like Disneyfying something horrible. And it's like, my pitch was like, okay, what if you did like a Night at the Museum type thing where go meta enough where it's like kids are going to Disneyland and they get on Pirates and it breaks down and they sneak back in later at the middle of the night because they want to go on it, and it takes them back to pirate times and they see like, oh, pirates are freaking awful and they're terrible, and they try to, I don't know, reclaim what they think a pirate could be. Like they become like Robin Hoods or something as pirates. I'm just trying to think of like thematically, it would make sense to me. Like, I just don't think we at this day and age, like we can really, like, we can't praise piracy the way that it kind of like washed over it in those old movies, because all the documentaries, everything now, it's like the minute you Google what pirates are really like, they were awful. And I think this is like a chance for us to maybe rewrite it a little bit. That was my pitch.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because if you think about that, almost everything was full of awful. The conquistadors were basically the same thing. Vikings, basically the same thing. Like they just went around pillaging and being horrible. So, you know, but at the same time, like there's a TV show called Vikings that people love.
But the difference and the point that I'm making is like Vikings is a very real kind of like depiction of what that's like. Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland is in no way, shape, or form any sort of realistic depiction of what actual pirates were like.
No. So
look, maybe that's 100% an interesting thought, but the wrong way to go. But it's like there's one way to that has nothing to do with anything that came with the old movies. It's like it's not even a new recipe. It's a whole new genre of dish.
Sure. You're going from an appetizer to a dessert, basically. Or
sure. Why not? Yeah.
I think that's valid. I think maybe the question to ask is why is it worth confronting the realities of what the pirate life was like, and what is a point that we can take away from that we can build a story around? And I think there's answers to that. I mean, I think we live in a world where rugged individualism has sort of been twisted into a very dark caricature of itself, just the ethos of being the rugged individual. And I think in a lot of ways, the original pirate, certainly the first Pirates movie, probably the second as well, all that talk about the pirates code and, you know, the way there was like a weird code of honor that governed how they operated. That's very much the myth of the rugged individual, of like, I'm living in balance with nature and my fellow man as I carve my own way in this unforgiving wilderness. I feel like in modern society, people who think that way tend to go a little bit off the deep end. And maybe that's a bias that I should be chastised for, but I don't know. So I'm just building on what you're saying. I mean, I think indicting the myth of the rugged individual is always an interesting place to go with a story for me.
I maybe it was even subconsciously, but it's like as soon as you said that, I was like, maybe there was just so much myth and so much lore that this is like running the entirely opposite direction. Be like, no, let's confront what it actually was, because it's awful, and you should not be singing yo ho yo ho. You should not want to be a pirate.
I mean, that is interesting because it, you know. But I mean, I guess the first Pirates movie, like a lot of kids, were kids going to see Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh yeah. There was like a huge, like, I think you kind of forget that there was like this big pirate wave, because then the vampire wave came not too short after it, but
a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Every kid at Halloween was a pirate, you know?
Yeah. So then how do you tackle what you're talking about?
I don't know. I just kind of threw out some. It's
a great question, though.
Yeah,
but also keep it available for kids, right? Are we teaching a lesson in this situation? Mm-hmm. You know, like if we're doing something like that, that actually could be a really cool thing that we do for, I guess, society in general, right? Like if we're saying, hey, you know, we when you idolize, we've talked about this before. When we idolize a certain thing, and you're confronted with the truth, are you able to change and recognize that truth and be okay with it and enjoy whatever cool aspects there are of it, but also be like realistic about it and move on to something better? Like, I don't know, maybe they want to be a doctor now. Maybe they wanted to be a pirate when they were a kid. Now they want to be a doctor. Obviously I'm doing that in a facetious way, but like that sort of thing, like, now you dress as something else for Halloween type of thing.
I mean, I think it becomes tough if you're to be that on the nose and still be entertaining. It's weird. My mind is going to our He-Man reboot, actually, which very much tackled sort of the be careful what you wish for when you start to have sort of like these dark, violent fantasies, with the whole setup of like Skeletor thinks that he wants to conquer Eternia, but then like the real conquerors show up and he's absolutely horrified and ends up sort of flipping over to He-Man's side. I think that's a great way to sort of address, you know, the horrors of war and the way that people are willing to gloss over the horrors of war without it being like, here's a main character who goes through that exact journey and learns that exact.
And I just want to be clear, because I know, Ed, you have a thought to jump in. I just want to be clear. My pitch was not these kids walk in on a pirate raping someone and then slitting their throat. It's more just kind of the, like you were saying, the bigger theme would be in there, but in a much more digestible way. That was just my first thought. It may not stick, but that's what it was.
Yeah, I want. Okay, I've been listening so I can actively participate in this, because this is one of the ones I bucked against the most, honestly. But I'm getting the feel of it now, and I kind of like where you guys are going, actually. And I don't think you guys are talking cross purposes at all. This is building towards something. I believe we can go with a little bit of the different types of people, with different sort of political ethos, from the guy who's like pirate reenactor type or a history buff to the point where he makes excuses for these guys and goes, well, you got to look at it through the realm of what they were dealing with at the time, but well, you can't judge it by modern standards, which I kind of agree with on some level. But this character would be tested as to how much he's willing to accept how these people just were dealing with when they're wrestling him up and doing stuff to him in this fantasy world that Billy's positing. And, you know, kids who are idolizing pirates and this, that, and the other. And also trying to look at, you guys thought I was joking when I said one of the main things I want to explore is like pirates who used to be slaves, pirates who literally killed their way to freedom, and now they got them a ship because they killed the dudes who were owning them, and now they own the ship and own what those dudes who were owning them have now. And they're pirates. How bad are they? They're bad, but how bad are they? There's a nuance to that character. Those kind of pirates could be some of the ones that you could actually show as being somewhat heroic for our purposes, so that we don't have to be a relentless downer for 2 hours and then expect $300 million.
No, totally. I think I had mentioned when I initially pitched a few minutes ago, is like they do something to like reclaim the pirate name, for lack of a better phrasing. And that's kind of exactly what you're saying. It's like they're, yeah, I don't think the life of pillaging and being greedy and selfish is the way, but there's a time to like stand up and take what's yours type of thing. Like, I just think that there's probably a cleaner way to tie it than I'm saying it now, but that's kind of where I was going for. I think we're on the same wavelength there.
Diving a little bit more into, what the story that we're trying to tell is. I mean, is there a way to almost do a pirate version of Lovecraft Country? Just listening to what you're talking about, Ed, I'm getting flashes in my head of like, it's a pirate ship and it's staffed by all, African slaves who fought their way to freedom, or it's even, is it a slave ship that's been taken over by the surviving slaves? And it's dark, it's the middle of the night, they don't really know how to navigate the ship, and suddenly this almost theatrically adorned pirate ship sort of drifts out of the mist and there's monsters on board. You know what I mean? Like just how do you use magic or the supernatural to heighten some of what we're actually talking about here? Like, these people are lost, strangers in a strange land. They're pirates because they literally have no home to go to. The boat and the sea is the only home they have now. But then how does that place become treacherous? How does even that become something that could turn on them?
And just to yes and that, but also to tamp it down to get some of these white folks in the movie. I do believe that a character could have some of that be part of his, I don't want to say backstory, it could be the inciting incident. I think it's a strong sort of weird opening scene. But there are people that one of the main things about all this jazz about these guys who escape slavery to become pirates and stuff like that, a lot of times it wasn't everybody gets away. It's like one guy gets away and has supreme survivor's guilt over how many people went down with the ship. Literally, this guy John Roberts, named Bartholomew Black Bart, he left several ships with slaves tied in the hold because he thought it would be too much effort to free them and they weren't quite worth. He did the cost benefit analysis, and all the slaves in the hold weren't worth anything for him to risk his good guys for. So they just sort of sailed away in the lifeboats and let the ship go down with the slaves in it. Some guy who escaped from something like that and has intense guilt over it, and his mission is to get the treasure from these guys. These guys over the court, this whole crime was committed to, bury some treasure, save some treasure, whatever. And then that treasure was worth more than his people's lives or whatever. And so now part of his story and his redemption arc is him trying to be like, I got to get this guy. I'm gonna get the treasure to deny it from this guy, but I'm also punishing, kind of kill and revenge myself on this guy who wronged me. I think,
there's shades of the Jack Sparrow story in that, sort of, valuing a treasure over the life of your crew. I mean, one of the things I just connected to with what you were saying, though, is the idea that a pirate crew, in those original Pirates movies, it was very broad comedy. They were caricatures, the crew. But the idea of treating the crew as like, these are the only people in the world I can rely on, almost like, I mean, it's weird because I think that they very explicitly do this, or, draw this comparison in the movie, but the Goonies, and to a certain extent, Stranger Things being a take on the Goonies, kind of does that, where it creates that little bit of pirate crew amongst the kids. And then in the case of the Goonies, like, kind of sets them up against real modern day pirates to a certain extent. But like, I don't know, there's something to that idea of rather than treating your crew as like the captain, our protagonist, and then the crew, a collection of character actors in crazy makeup, what if it is more of an ensemble? What if it is more of like, who are these 6 guys that come from crazy background? I mean, can you almost do like a 7 Samurai type of thing here?
I mean, I don't think that's bad. And you know what it does? It multiculturalizes the hell out of it, because there's going to be Chinese pirates and there's going to be this type of pirates. Like, the Warriors with pirates is hilarious to me. And I don't know.
That's interesting.
And I know it's kind of straying a little bit away from Billy's idea of the magical realism of kids coming back to see this. But I think the overall point he's trying to, not to speak for you, Billy, but I think the overall point you're trying to make is we can't treat this as just adventure fiction without dealing with some of the historical ramifications in an entertaining way. Because we could boring it up easy as pie. Get Nolan on this. We could boring it up anytime we want.
Hey, that's
I think the only reason why I was like, I was trying to, with the kids kind of going into like this different Narnia-esque type way. It was one, just to kind of like really early on in this movie, if you're starting it in present day, like we are sending the message that this is a board reset. That's one. And then 2, I guess this is something we have to decide as a group, but I always saw Pirates of the Caribbean as, you mentioned Goonies. That's about the age range that I think that this movie should be for. I think when you start making it for anything older than like 15, 16, then that's when it's like, well, you just go watch the old ones. That's essentially the ones for you guys. I think there's no harm in making like, a kids movie, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing or like lessen the quality of it by any stretch.
No, and I mean, I think it would behoove us to, if we're going to make it a kids movie, to probably stick a little bit closer to the tone of something like Stranger Things, which I know is we reference a lot, but something that is very much for kids and about kids, but doesn't shy away from pretty hardcore horror elements. And the only reason I say, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe that hews too closely to the original Pirates, which very much blended sort of supernatural horror. Let me ask,
how much supernatural? Because when you think about the ride before they went in and redid a lot of it to include the stuff from the movies, like how much supernatural was really there? Not really nothing. Like, I guess maybe the skeletons with like the LED lights of like beer going down them, but even that, it's like the supernatural element to me is like, that's the thing that if we want to stay away from being too close to the other one. Like I would either keep it minimal or keep it out. That personally.
I mean, and
Fair.
that definitely goes within what we love to do, which is to get rid of, the fun.
But Ron, what
Not to-
parts of the Caribbean of the
I'm actually-
7.5
literally-
minute made?
That was literally a joke.
I was actually going to agree with you a little bit,
too, Ron. So here we go.
Hold on, though. I'm going to agree with Ron a little bit in that most movies aimed at the age range that we're talking about have a little bit of magical realism to them. And there's degrees of that. We don't necessarily have to have zombie pirates, walking in a line under the moonlight, but it also becomes difficult to do a kids movie that is just magicless. You know what I mean? That is just. I don't know what it is.
Thesis just doesn't work because it's like we're if the
What
one
if-
of the
What
ahead,
if the
Ron.
magic is the kids you were talking about earlier who sneak onto the ride and, think they're going to get away with something cool, end up on the ship as workers or as something, and they sort of see the adventure but aren't part of the adventure in a way? I don't know if that's a bad idea, but
I think you could do that. You could do that without time travel, though. Is sort of what I'm saying, and I think this goes back to my Goonies comment. Like, first of all, I think Billy, you might have said it earlier, but Ed, it might have been you. This idea that we need to open the movie with a tone-setting scene, something that is like, this is a very different thing than the Johnny Depp Pirates, I think is right on. And if that scene is just a bunch of under 13-year-old kids who are working as deckhands, I don't know if they all escape together. I don't know if they stage a mutiny and it becomes a little Lord of the Flies. And again, not that it's going to be gross and horrific, but just to start it, like, where are we starting this movie? Which is always a hard question to ask if we don't know where we want to go. But
I see where you're going with that. So, and then they stage a mutiny, escape, but eventually get their own ship and become what they tried to escape.
That's kind of where I'm going, and I don't know where the story goes from there. Maybe we should talk a little bit about like who a villain could be. What's just an antagonistic force in the milieu of a Pirates of the Caribbean story. Obviously, in the original movies, they used the British East India Trading Company, which was basically like the British colonial forces as sort of this oppressive authoritarian regime. And the pirates, to a certain extent, were sort of the freedom fighters going up against those jackbooted thugs. And then on the other side of it, you had sort of the cursed demonic pirates. And then later on, sort of the monster pirates of various stripe. So maybe it's a matter of, can we come up with villains that aren't those two things? That aren't colonial British forces and aren't monster pirates.
Well, if you make it pirates versus pirates, like almost like kind of bad pirates versus way worse pirates, sort of. I'm simplifying that, but that's
from the mouths of babes. I mean, honestly, that's what we have to do.
That's kind of all that's left is like pirate versus pirate.
Yeah, I mean,
and my idea is that's coming to me is like, because they had the coin thing in the beginning, of the previous movies. Maybe they have something where the kids who have been basically kidnapped and made to work this ship have something on that ship that they have to leave to escape, but they don't want to leave that there, and they know it's still there, and they go after the other pirate, which is kind of connecting to what Ed was saying a little bit earlier.
Could you elaborate? Like, what do you mean? Something that's left there that they don't want to be left
a family heirloom, something that connects them to their being innocent, something like that, where it's like, if you leave that there, you've given up any goodness that you ever had, even if you have to be a little bad to keep surviving, type of thing. And sort of like rescuing that thing is the thing that like reminds you of who you are as a person and who you could have been. Maybe something along those lines. Because
emotional. I like it. Well, I mean, I just think totems, obviously coming up with some sort of totem of progress for our characters, I think is a big deal. They did use the coin thing. People go after treasure, and I think trying to, like I said, I'm a revenge man. So I've made my contribution. I want somebody to be seeking hella revenge, and part of that revenge is for all of their people. You know what I mean? And I think if you can make some profits along the way, that to me is the jam. But everybody doesn't have to have that goal. And that person doesn't even have to be the main character, because much like Jack Sparrow, a very interesting black person pirate in here. And then we have some kids that can have their own goals and stuff like that. I'd be fine with all that. Jack Sparrow was so cool because he was Urkel. You know, I don't want to make a black pirate Urkel, but you understand what I'm saying. He doesn't need to be the main character so that everybody goes, "You tried to woke it up."
So can we just do
my ride?
If that's the case, can we just do like a heist movie? Like, piracy has gotten so bad that this island is fortified, it's locked down. Any pirates that come, they just blow them out of the water. But this crew, let's call it the crew of kids or whatever the hell it is, this one totem that they need for whatever reason we can come up with is on this island, and they have to find their old ways of piracy doesn't work. So now it's just like, what if a pirate had to like infiltrate like as a commoner, or even worse, like a politician on the island, and had to like worm its way in there, and we basically do Ocean's 11 with pirates.
I love everything you're saying. I'll yes and you. What if that island is sort of it's like a political no man's. Basically, the entire island has been overrun by pirates. There's like a pirate city on that island, and it's it's just this absolute den of vice and gambling. Like, the authorities are scared to go there. You really build it up in the first act, and then your heist crew, who have to go in to retrieve something, are like, we have to get in and get out alive while we're stealing the most valuable thing on Pirate Island.
Dude, okay, to yes and that. Yeah, no, dude, to yes and that. The only person crazy enough to help them go do this is a pirate like Black Caesar or Peter Cloyce or Juan Andres or any of these black pirates who whatever, because on that they're pirates.
This pirate knowledge is just blowing me away right now.
It's just spilling out of Ed, like all this pirate knowledge.
Anyway, so look them up. So Black Caesar died in the Florida Keys, supposedly after stealing a bunch of treasure, and supposedly the treasure's still there. Bill, you work for the History Channel on occasion. So basically, the bottom line is this guy needs something on that island. He needs to kill the dude who's running that island, and he needs to get back this thing from his people or whatever. And our kids need to get back their thing, and he's the only person crazy enough to help some jerks rob Pirate Island.
Okay, let's bring it all the way back around to where Billy started. You have your Black Caesar guy who has to go in for personal reasons. What if the kids who he teams up with are stranded and their time machine magic totem, because they came out of the ride or whatever, is on that same island? And so the only person crazy enough to help them get on that island to get back to their home time is this crazy Black Caesar guy. Do we want to go that far? Do we want to have that sort of sci-fi or magic element?
I mean, at this point, like, I'm fine kind of dropping the initial pitch. I almost feel like that's a different story now, and that's fine, because now that we've gotten into like this angle, it's like, well, now I want pirates to be fun again. I don't want to think about how terrible they were. So maybe that's a different movie for a different time. Maybe
we have a little responsibility, but just a spoonful of sugar. I mean, a spoonful of slavery helps the medicine go down.
No, but listen, I mean, we are kind of having our cake and eating it too, because if Pirate Island, which is run by the real pirates, is an actually horrible, scary place that nobody wants to go, then our kids and the more honorable, ex-slave pirate that they're with can have the code and the fun and whatever, but then they have to go in and subterfuge their way through these awful real pirates. I mean, we're getting to where we wanted to go.
I mean,
it's sort of like the difference
is always fun. That's what makes those Oceans movies so fun, is because you don't feel bad that they're technically criminals. It's because they're stealing from the bad guys,
Yeah, it's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Ravagers steal from everybody, but they have a code, and you know, I mean, there's rules, and you know, if our good group has a little bit of rules.
No, I think what's kind of cool is like our group, besides our one kind of, we'll call him the Obi-Wan Kenobi pirate. He's like our mentor pirate. These are not pirates. Like, I think by the end of it, they almost become an idealized version of what pirates are.
Okay, so this is how the movie opens then. These kids are dilettantes, and they're on a boat with their rich parents, and they get attacked by pirates, and their parents are killed. Not in a gory, bloody way, but, you know, in classic Disney tradition, first 15 minutes of the movie, got to get the parents out of there. And these kids are shipwrecked and left for dead by the pirates, and they're found by Black Caesar, who needs a different name, but I just keep referring to him as that. And it sort of becomes this thing. I mean, it could even be he saves them, but then doesn't want to have anything more to do with them. And then when they realize that this thing that they need was taken by the pirates and they have to go get it back, they spend the first, you know, chunk of Act 2 trying to get Black Caesar back on their team, because at this point he's the only guy they know. You know what I mean? So it's like you have your fun and games moments in early Act 2 of just trying to get the team together. It's the kids, it's Black Caesar, it's maybe another one or two other pirates.
I got a pitch. I got a pitch. So basically, so Black Caesar comes back to his island where he stashed a bunch of treasure. And on this island where he stashed a bunch of, it's more or less his bank island or one of his bank islands, and he goes there to dig up some treasure. Maybe he has another boat to buy something. And then there's these dorky kids on this island. Like, who the hell are these dorks? And he's like, and they go, dude, I'm so glad that you came. Now that you've saved us, black man, we'll go with you and be safe. And he's like, y'all are tripping. I am running from all types of slavers and stuff. I got my own agenda. I got to get to this place and do this X, Y, and Z. And he lets slip where he's going. And the kids are like extra wanting to go. But he says no. And he sails the hell away. But they have, of course, stowed away. This is pirates. It's pirates. They stow away on this ship, ingeniously stowing away, making him think that they're still there by making a fire or something, doing something, and they sneak onto his ship.
I'm gonna yes and you again, just to throw another complication into this. Rather than them stowing away on his ship, what if let's throw a third party into this. There's other pirates. And Black Caesar goes away. Maybe there's even a pirate on pirate battle there on the island, but Black Caesar gets away. And the kids cut a deal with the third party pirates being like, look, we're going after this thing. And then the kids try to double cross him. So then he is chasing the kids as they're trying to get onto Pirate Island to get their thing back.
I'm just going to say that's where Pirates of the Caribbean 3 lost me, is when we started to do 4 or 5 double crosses. So I didn't know whose team anyone was on. I would just say I like the idea of building the team with the reluctance. And then just like the fun for me is going to be watching these people who are not pirates have to pretend to be pirates to infiltrate and steal from a pirate. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I got one thing. So Black Caesar leaves the island, but then he sees, maybe through his spyglass, some dudes coming to the island, and he knows that those are bad pirates. So not only have they found his money island, which he just took his money off of, but there's little kids there. And he knows what these dudes are going to do to little kids, man. And he's like, damn it. And he has to go back. But in that, and his crew is like, dude, we're already, come on, dude. And he says, no, we got to go back. So he's like, okay, crew guys, do what I say. And they go back. And in the ensuing battle, a few of his crew get murdered to the point where these kids might actually help him now, because you can't sail a boat by yourself. So now he has to conscript these kids.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that becomes a first half of Act 2 sequence where it's like he's pissed at the kids because he feels like they got his crew killed, even though he's really pissed at himself because he got his crew killed. And now he has to teach the kids how to work on the boat. And, it's borderline abusive, but the kids prove their moxie, and like he starts to come around. And then the conversation, or what the moment happens where it's like, we need to go to Pirate Island. And then it's like, you got to be kidding me. Like, nobody goes there. Are you out of your mind? You know, and then I'm looking like, I feel like we do need another twist. What happens on Pirate Island? Like, what's another complication?
What we need is
werewolves.
what we need is how the kids will actually help him at all, because that was one of the cool things in Pirates 1 that I'm remembering now is homegirl Keira Knightley, before she started Star Wars. She had a coin that was I don't know, it was some magical coin that they needed, and her being a Turner, she lied and said her name was Turner. So a Turner with this magical coin, we can't do pirate stuff to this lady. You know what I'm saying? There was some sort of thing that made her indispensable to them, which is why she got to keep being in the adventure in a Disney way, let's say.
One of the kids has been on, has a map of as a pirate. You know, why not have a map? I don't know, something where one of the kids actually knows where they're going to get the thing.
Oh, okay. I think I want to roll. What if one of the kids is from Pirate Island?
I was just thinking, like, is it too Star Wars to do the I'm your father thing, but you find out that those kids maybe were like adopted parents or something, you know? That, and really with the pirates, when they boarded the ship, they weren't looking to kill the parents, they were looking to take the kids back to Pirate Island, but like, you know, the kids stowed away and they thought the kids had died or something. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, the kids hid in a hold, and then when the ship sank, they escaped. And,
right.
You know,
so the whole time the kids think that the pirates came and killed their parents because they're pirates and marauders, but really they were looking for those kids, and maybe those two parents like rescued those two kids way back in the day. I don't know if that really helps anything, but
I sort of feel like we need to figure out what actually both what the kids and what Black Caesar are after. Like, why do they have to go to Pirate Island? What are they trying to get there?
Well, yeah, the reason why I wanted a kid to be from there was because it would be one of those things where, dude, I got out. I'm not going to go back because you dorks. You know, and maybe the kid isn't one of the kids who's, you know what I'm saying?
But Black Caesar could be that guy. I mean, that's what's interesting. If Black Caesar was like 12 years old when he was either sprung or escaped from a slave ship, and he ended up on Pirate Island, and that's how he got into this life, and now he lives a little bit more of an upstanding life because it was so rough for him, you know? And so
was
then
Black Caesar maybe... No, that's a bad idea. I was gonna say maybe he was part of the crew that took out the parents. Like if time has passed, like they don't realize that he was there that night or something like that, to try to like wedge the team apart before you bring them back together for the third act.
I could see that. I think you just got to be careful. Oh no!
Here we go.
Oh boy! Hold on to your good ideas because we're gonna need them after this. Gentlemen, hello. How are we today? Rebooting another one of the Disney crown jewels. They're giving me another shot at the teat, and I am looking to suckle. You know what I'm saying? So here it is, gentlemen. We're rebooting this Johnny Depp classic. And as you know, nobody makes money in Hollywood like Johnny Depp. So I think it goes without saying that Jack Sparrow is a main character in this movie. Is that correct?
No,
he's not.
No. Well, that's bullshit, and I'm not going to hear it from you assholes. You don't know how to make money in Hollywood. I do. And if I say Johnny Depp is in this movie, Johnny Depp is in this movie. How dare you? How dare you even suggest that we do a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp? People will riot in the streets. This will make Donald Trump's inauguration look like Barack Obama's inauguration. You know, it will dwarf it completely. Oh, you are all on very thin ice right now. Let me tell you, you are all just about to get fired. Oh, I am expecting a treatment with Johnny Depp in it, and if not, heads will roll. Heads will roll. Goodbye.
Well, I mean, we could just have Jack Sparrow killed at the beginning.
No, we can't. Okay, first, he's not going to be a main character, but I think one thing Crazy Old Man is right about is if there's any sort of hearkening or any sort of Easter egg towards Jack Sparrow, people will appreciate it. So I think we just need to come up with a little Easter egg. Jack Sparrow influencing the story on some level, even from the grave.
Well, I mean, there's what if you basically just put Jack Sparrow on Pirate Island in like a Wolverine in First Class style cameo? Like as they're infiltrating Pirate Island, they just have a run-in and like a single conversation with Jack Sparrow in a bar or a brothel or, almost like
or a bar brothel.
Yeah.
Barthel.
If you saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, or excuse me, the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, the new Kevin Smith movie, they had one scene with Ben Affleck where he showed up and gave like a very heartfelt speech. And like, it didn't necessarily turn the tide of the movie, but it came kind of in that late Act 2 area where it felt important, even though they clearly shot it in a day. I think you could do a similar thing with Jack Sparrow.
So if Jack Sparrow's in this, then we just have to acquiesce to the fact that this exists in the pre-existing Pirates world.
I think it has to be loose. I mean, I still adhere to what we were saying, that like we want this to stand apart. So it's almost, I mean, it's the quintessence of a bull crap studio note, right? Like it's going to be in there because they're asking for it.
Like, I just wonder if at that point, like when Black Caesar is, if we're talking about his backstory, it's like, can we just have him be part of one of the other adventures? And it's like archival footage of, he was one of the pirates on Barbossa's ship or something. So that way we don't have to repay Depp because we own that footage.
Thinking like a real producer. I don't think that's bad at all. I really don't.
Then it also loosely ties enough if you must tie it into old pirates, so it's all within the universe. Yep. But that was a different time, a different story. We're not doing that. But he's like, yeah, I was there. Look, I've seen things you wouldn't even believe. I saw Davy Jones. I was there when my crew was cursed. Like
it's
you kids don't even.
It's a little bit Mysterio in Far From Home, right?
The best exposition scene I've seen in a movie, bar none.
100%. No, that's I don't think that's bad at all. I'm saying like
100%. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Is that
okay?
Yeah.
And also just one thing, just so the history nuts of it. The reason why we wouldn't have to have it be exactly that, because our story doesn't have that much magic and stuff in it. Maybe he could say like, well, they kind of exaggerated certain stuff of it, or he was like one of those old school mythical type pirates, and you don't believe everything you read. Something to kind of distance ourselves from the fact, because like he obviously didn't get cursed with Davy Jones and stuff, because that's a whole different story and a whole different guy.
Like even maybe one of the kids were like, so you saw Davy Jones, or like, don't some of its stories. I get what you're saying. I really like that a lot. Kind of like, and it's also kind of meta, kind of winking at the pirate mythology that got so convoluted in those movies.
Yeah. I mean, you could lean all the way into that and have these kids buy into the idea that pirates have some mythological supernatural bend and adhere to some sort of unwritten code and have all this secret knowledge. And then the Black Caesar character is the one to be like, it's almost the opposite of Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens. He's there to be like, don't believe everything you hear. Like, are you kids dumb? Like, this is not
true.
Yeah, exactly. None of it's true.
I'm very proud of us. We have succeeded in taking away the fun. I'm very excited.
No, I was just about to spring to your defense preemptively, Ron, by
I'm
having
joking.
One of the last things, though. I think if we're really going to do what we came to do, is one of the last things in the movie is something that kind of proves that there is some sort of at least Indiana Jones level magic to this jazz. And that's what saves the day, is somebody believing in that strong enough to succeed. That to me is kind of awesome.
You know what it could be, though? I mean, it doesn't even need to be magic. If Black Caesar is adamant with them, there is no code. This life is horrible. Let me tell you because I've lived it. and everything that's happened to me, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. There is no code. And then we go into Pirate Town, and there's very much not a code. They are awful and scary, and our kids barely make it out alive. But when our kids commit to crewing up with Black Caesar and becoming a new pirate crew at the end of this movie, they are going to live by the code that they believed in and that everybody told them wasn't real and didn't matter, and that is not how we do things. When they succeed at whatever their mission is and ride off into the sunset at the end of this movie, we understand this is a new breed of pirate. They're going to do things differently.
And it's because they succeed because they didn't double cross each other. This is giving me Janeway Janeway chills in regards to your code helps you. In the end, your code can help you in the most barbarous circumstances. I love that, dude. And
that's as an arc, that's what Black Caesar has to learn from them. Like, he has every reason to think that life is the worst, and he goes on anyway in this sort of nihilistic way. But these kids teach him that, like, honor is still worth something. You know, that's kind of powerful stuff,
right? And the only
that could be him when they start to escape. He gets stuck on Pirate Island, and they go back for him.
Oh, that's interesting. If he's captured, and they're like, I mean, that's a great third act. It's
and they've got all the stuff they needed to escape. They've got they've got what they needed, but we don't leave him behind.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That's really. I feel like we've got most of this fleshed out, except for what those MacGuffins are. Like, what are they actually going after?
What are we going after here? What is so important that they would risk everything for?
I wonder if there's like, what would have been on the ship with these dilettante kids and their parents, or, you know, I know we were bandying about before Peters jumped in that one of the kids was from Pirate Island and he'd stowed away, or that the parents weren't really the parents. They'd saved the kids from Pirate Island.
What if it's something as simple as who their parents actually are? Like, literally a book that they're trying to get that proves who their parents are so they can go back to them. And then in the end, they choose not to because they've chosen the code or whatever. I don't know. Something along those lines.
I like where you're going. It definitely has to be something that's relevant, because they have to make the choice, right? Like, they have to make the choice. We're gonna stay and be pirates rather than go and be whatever it is that this thing that we successfully captured allows us to be.
Well, what if it's because in my brain it's something about freedom, right? Whatever they're going to get is the thing that they think is going to bring about freedom for them, but really the journey and becoming who they are is what actually gives them their freedom, right?
It's almost like, it's very much letters of transit in Casablanca, but is there like a writ from the king that grants their families land in, I guess I'm trying to think, I'm trying to place this in time, but like in Louisiana or whatever.
The will from the parents.
It doesn't. No, I'm saying it could literally just be a writ for, like, if they're colonial people, it could literally just be like a piece of paper. This is the order from the king that grants, 500 acres in Louisiana or New France to my family.
I love it.
I'm just trying to play. If this is in the 1600s or thereabouts, I'm just trying to. You know what I mean? Like, it just becomes a thing where it's like, if we get these papers. And maybe this is a story beat you run into. It's like, we have to be able to prove who we are, and then we have to have these papers so that we can claim this land from the local governor, right? So is it a two-step process? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, storytelling wise, I really like that a lot. Visually, I don't. Like, I still want something
like a cool coin,
like a golden sword or something. You know what I mean? Like, hell, if we're going to Pirate Island, like, make it the most like go full in, make it the most piratey thing that you can get. There's just something that's just like my stupid brain just it's like, okay, I'll just forge the documents. I don't know.
I hear it. No,
you know.
I hear that. I hear that.
Well, okay.
Although that could be a funny beat though, if they actually try forging the documents and then, like that could be an Act 2 beat where Black Caesar decides to help them forge the documents and they get caught, and that's just another, upping the stakes. But anyway, what were you going to say, Ron?
What if there's some piece of pirate treasure that like grants you clemency from all pirates, or freedom to go anywhere you want and not be harassed by pirates? Or do you see what I'm saying? Because he said the sword, so maybe this golden sword is like a piece of treasure that allows you to go anywhere you want to go, and then that way, well.
The problem with that is we're saying pirates don't adhere to any rules.
Yes,
so
you're right.
Yeah.
That's what kind of gets me too. Is it's like, well, if a pirate wants that land, he's just going to take it. Like he doesn't need a legal document to.
But
unless they don't know what it is, the
way that I'm thinking, and I'm just going to lay this out because maybe we could extract something from it. The way that I'm thinking about it is like, look, they're on a ship from Europe. They're going to the New World because they're colonialists. Like they've been granted land. So when they arrive, like there's a standing army with guns and cannons that will arrest them and kill them if they try to claim land that they're not legally entitled to. I mean, that's why pirates are on the seas and not on the shores anyway, right? So they have to be, they can't just show up on the, in the docks of Louisiana and say, hey, we're the, Von Trapp children. Give us our plantation. But the reason I'm thinking this way too is because if they're going to try to claim a plantation, that gives even more weight to the idea of like, no, we're going to go and adventure with Black Caesar rather than go. And again, it's a Disney movie, so you don't say this explicitly, but rather than go and be slave owners on the land, we'd rather stay out here at sea.
Can it be, okay, can we have some form of a compromise where it's like a golden treasure chest or something, and inside of it is those papers? So it's like the pirates just took it because it looked awesome and it looked like treasure, but really what they're actually trying to get is inside of it, because then you can do some real, again, Ocean's 11, where you're just, it's like, okay, what if we switch out the documents real fast, or like they're not actually trying to get the chest, they're trying to get what's in it. But then you pull the Ocean's 11 thing at the end where they ended up taking the chest too, I
mean, I think that that's totally valid. I'm also thinking, Ed, you mentioned before that maybe our Act 1 turn is that moment where Black Caesar goes back to the island because some other pirates have showed up. If they do get his treasure and haul it back to Pirate Island, and he's the one who's like, no, it's gone. I got to let it go. And the kids talk him into, no, we're going to Pirate Island because they want to get their thing back and we're going to get your treasure back. You know what I mean? Like that could be the argument where he doesn't buy it and they have to convince him. And so then it becomes that two-step thing on Pirate Island where it's like Black Caesar's treasure is there, and without it, he's broke and his crew might mutiny, although half his crew is now dead. He doesn't have the money to pay a new crew. So they're going to have to go out and take on even more danger. Like his life is screwed when his treasure gets stolen. And then meanwhile, these kids need their documents, their letters of transit, so they can go and claim their home on the mainland. So it's like they need each other because both of the things that they have in order to live are on Pirate Island now. I mean, it seems simple, but it seems like that's compelling.
I think it's great.
Do we all like that? Is there still something that we feel like is missing?
No, I think it's awesome.
I personally, I did enjoy that, that it's more of almost like a mission to them. You know what I mean? Like the gold thing, I get it. I like it. But I like the fact that it was like somebody killed all my people in order to secure some treasure. Maybe the treasure was some weird golden sword that is supposed to give you everlasting life or whatever. And so basically there's an everlasting golden life sword and a bunch of slaves in a hole. And you steal that sword and leave them down there. And then you go to Pirate Island where you've experienced since that time of doing that bad thing, unlimited success almost. You're the king of Pirate Island, a place with no rules, and you still rule it ever since you got this sword. Your life has gotten so much better. And there's Black Caesar who knows where your fortunes turned and the great crime that paid for your thing. And he's been trying to marshal up his gold and his stuff to get you. If he loses his gold and he needs to go get some more or something that's cool, they need to run a heist or something to get enough gold to get to Pirate Island. I like that. But the sword is what I'm just saying. The sword and the fact that this guy is there should be why he's going there. And the kids need something else, but they both need something. And the two things are different.
I agree with that. I'm fine with them each having their own. Again, great. Taking it back, Ocean's 11. Danny had a slightly different mission than everyone else did, you know?
I'm also thinking of that Black Caesar and King of Pirate Island conflict as being like Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator. I mean, that's what you want, right? Is like that man on a mission who I'm going to take you down no matter what sort of.
And then we get a great fight scene out of that whole deal too. So we get the swashbuckling.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Caesar loses and gets captured, and that's when the kids come back to save him.
Right, because he takes on Homeboy, and Homeboy says, "Yes, I will battle you." And it seems like a wash because Black Caesar's big and he's powerful and he's dope, and he's been working on this for years. He's been pumping iron. He's so ready for this. But that golden sword chops his sword in half. Homeboy's movements are so fast. He's almost ethereally, magically dope and whoops his ass. And when Homeboy gets that sword in the end, he can whoop some ass in classic Disney fashion in the third act.
Love it. And then we add a little bit of magic in there.
The golden sword has some ill-defined bit of magic. Yes,
little bit of magic.
With the implied, like, maybe he's really great, but maybe the sword gives him a little something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to just don't do what they did before, where you have to like dig into every sea lore to explain it. You know?
Agreed.
I was going to say the golden sword is almost like the golden sword in Hook, right? It has symbolic significance, even if the magic is a little ill-defined.
Placebo effect. It makes you feel like you're a better fighter.
Exactly.
Yeah, like good shoes made you think you could jump high.
Yep.
All right, we got to start casting this thing. I don't think there's any way that Black Caesar is not Idris Elba, but if you feel otherwise,
actually, I'm Donald Glover on it.
I was thinking Idris this whole time. I'm thinking a little older for this one. Donald's a little too young. I mean, in my opinion.
I think Idris. I think also. I think realistically, and I know this might seem blasphemy, but this is the John Boyega casting agency. And I'm telling you, that he isn't this young little babe anymore. He's going to be like probably 28. He could play like a grown-ass man with grown-ass man goals. We've seen him as infantilized in these Star Wars movies. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Give him an actual script where actual stuff is happening, and I think he could be good. This isn't quite as perfect. This isn't quite as perfect as him being, what did we cast him in that was so perfect? Mr. Miracle. It isn't quite as perfect as him being Mr. Miracle, but
I don't think he's a fantastic actor. I think just in my mind, like I need someone older to just visually right off the bat tell me that this is a guy that's been around.
Well, another guy I have is Aldous Hodge from Invisible Man. He was the black cop that was helping Homegirl. He's not old, but I did not buy him as a cop. He wasn't a 22-year-old detective or anything.
All right.
And he's got a little bit more range than people think.
Yeah, I don't know enough of his work, but yeah. I don't know. I'm so stuck on like the beaten down, nihilistic, world weary, but still deep down driven for revenge guy. Like that is Idris Elba. Like Idris Elba would murder that part.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if he accepts the offer, then I'm not seeing anybody else.
He's in the Disney family. He's done. He did like Lion King, and I think Jungle Book, and something else I can't remember.
Thor.
Oh, Thor. Yeah, I guess that's Disney. So he's definitely in the family. He's probably got a 25 picture first look deal.
Honestly, speaking of Jungle Book, Andy Serkis definitely needs to be on Pirate Island as a villain in this.
I think he could be. Is it too Snoke if he's like the king villain, king pirate?
I don't have a problem with it.
But the king pirate, we want to be a black guy, right, Ed? Because you want that betrayal aspect of it.
Oh, it's true.
I mean, I don't know. I think what's interesting about somebody coming onto a ship and killing all the crew and then leaving the slaves and stuff. I don't know that. I mean, that if that is a black guy, that's cool because it's almost like the Django thing. Like there are bad people allied with these people and stuff. But at the same time, I think we can't deny the people the good white exploitation villain.
I was gonna say, you could do. Who's the guy who plays Baron Modo, whatever, in Doctor Strange?
Oh, Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Dude,
Yeah.
I would bring him in. I'm sorry, him and Idris gonna have to fight over that Black Caesar part. I think because they both have gravitas to do that stuff.
I was gonna say, like, it's almost like you could offer them like which one you want. You want the bad guy or you want the good guy? Because I could see them both kind of running together back in the day, and now having this grudge.
And you satisfy my cult TV casting as well in that.
Because he was the villain in Serenity, the Firefly movie.
Correct.
And also, and one thing I don't want to deny us also though is a older white male box office actor, maybe a former hero type, because that's going to bring us some extra. But we got Idris. Idris is fine. He's doing his thing. He's the hero. And then we give him some nice. You know what I mean?
I'm going to do this thing for
like
you.
A second mate.
But in the Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio tradition, if you think about the Mask of Zorro, you have the Spanish governor and then you have the American army captain, right? You have those two levels of villains. So on Pirate Island, there's definitely the king of Pirate Island, but then who's the guy right underneath him that's maybe even more sadistic? That's like his enforcer, He's the one that the kids are going to outsmart as Black Caesar goes mano a mano with your main guy.
And maybe that's Serkis.
Exactly. I mean, that could definitely be Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis menacing a group of, preteens as they're trying to infiltrate Pirate Island. I'm down with all that.
Sounds like a weird dream I had. I'm down for it. I think he's perfect for that.
Yeah. All right. So this movie has no women in it yet, which I feel like is.
Well, one of the kids is going to be a woman for sure.
Okay. We have a female kid. And then I just wonder if Black Caesar has a love interest. Is there an inside person on Pirate Island that they
I do like that. They're Maz Kanata on the island almost.
Quite literally. That's funny. Yeah, I think I think that might be the other black place, for lack of a better word, we can go is she's on the island. She's living a certain lifestyle, but she can never actually get anywhere because she's limited by being a woman, and she's limited by, on certain cases by her race, even though there's no rules out here. Some rules go everywhere, you dig? And yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, she's in a position where she can't grow.
If she's not black, can she be Penelope Cruz?
I think wasn't Penelope Cruz is already in these though.
Was she really?
She was Blackbeard's daughter in the fourth one.
All right, well, hilarious. I never saw the fourth one, so I will take your word on that.
You just ruined it, man. Now you're gonna be like, what if we get Johnny Depp in this thing?
He's already in it. He's already in it.
I was thinking like completely different. You know who I watched? The reason why I keep bringing Oceans up is because I rewatched all of them recently. And someone that actually struck me is like, oh, I wish you did more movies. We watched Oceans 8. And I was really impressed with Rihanna. I would love to see Rihanna as a pirate on this island.
Are you kidding me? You just wrote a lot of people's like fantasy life right there.
Was Rihanna not in one of the Pirates movies? I thought she was in one of the Pirates.
So there's an actress in who plays the not the Dalai Lama, Tia Dama in part 2 and 3, who looks like she could be Rihanna but is not Rihanna.
Okay,
she's like Rihanna Bonet or something.
Dude, and then Zoe Saldana is in
the first Saldana's in the first one.
Yeah, that I knew.
Before she was like a big actress.
She almost quit acting after this because it was such a huge shoot that she was just like, I don't know if I really like this stuff. She's reported to have almost quit acting.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, yeah, Rihanna is like bullseye casting for this franchise. She's literally from a Caribbean island.
Right.
Yeah,
and
put her on
also-
Pirate Island.
And that's one of the main reasons why I kind of was pushing for the betrayer that has the golden sword to kind of be your classic white exploitation villain, because he's on the slave ship. What does he take? A sword and the hottest girl, and takes her back to just like a real jerk pirate, and leaves a bunch of slaves to die in a hole. That, my friend, is a guy who, and that's to say maybe Black Caesar and her weren't necessarily betrothed or anything, but he knew her, he liked her, they had a good relationship, and
You're
got
really
stolen.
Djangoing this up right now.
I know, but it's hilarious. You know what I'm doing? I'm doing it on purpose because unlike Django, this is where until the kids help him, it isn't the kids basically going, "Hey, black man, this is how you shoot a gun. This is how you do a cutlass. Let me engineer this entire situation, teach you how to walk, teach you how to dress, then go enact your revenge." I'm flipping that for Disney. So
By the way,
you're right.
I have no problem ripping off other movies and putting them in other movies. My favorite movie is like 6 different movies repurposed. Star Wars is not. It's just 6 different things repurposed. The best movies do that. So I'm fine with taking the Django model because hopefully our target audience hasn't seen it because they're too young to see it, but we can give them a taste of it.
Well, I think kids' movies are the best movies to pull that in for that exact reason, is you're kind of introducing kids to these story tropes in a way that is more palatable than like sitting an 11-year-old down to watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know.
Okay, so let's cast the king of the island then. Like I said, the guy who goes, he committed this great crime against Homeboy. He's aged a little bit since then. Like when we show the flashback, he'll probably be a tiny bit de-aged or with little nice de-age makeup. A good, venerable white man, star-ass actor. Johnny Depp level or above to play the villain that gets trounced by Idris Elba in this. Somebody that can share the screen with him. Who is that?
I mean, I'm still just thinking Andy Serkis, but I know he doesn't have the profile that you're looking for. So
No, it's got to be like a handsome white man.
Tom Cruise?
You're close.
We always try to
circling.
do that.
It just doesn't work.
It's almost there. Leonardo DiCaprio.
I see like, I'll put $1 into the jar, but this is where I see more of like a Henry Cavill type of looking guy.
That is $1 in the jar, but
it's
McConaughey.
I'm saying use that as a template, maybe.
McConaughey?
That's what I'm saying.
Let's discuss McConaughey.
I'm a pirate, man.
Here's the problem. We already saw Idris versus McConaughey in the Dark Tower, and it was horrible.
It was bad.
Oh yeah, that's
McConaughey for me is too far into parody of himself at this point. I have a really hard time buying. Do you just go full Django and see if Leo will do it? If he's just
I said that as a joke earlier. There was in the crosstalk. No, I don't think we can do that. Plus, I want somebody
to be a pirate.
I want somebody that can sell the physical. I want somebody who, when they smile and have messed up teeth, it actually looks right.
Dude, you know who you're talking about right now? You're talking about Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys mode.
Oh. Look, man, if we can get Brad Pitt for our friggin' Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean? Whatever.
They say Caribbean in the movie, but I don't know what it's.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture of Brad Pitt right now. When he has his little beard going, and if he smiled and had messed up teeth, but he was still sort of handsome and he's still sort of rugged. He looks like the sea kicked him in the face, but he's still beautiful. Like, I don't know, man.
Great idea.
With the crazy eyes from 12 Monkeys, man. Like, he can play that role of the touched in the head villain.
Dude, Brad Pitt playing Drexel from True Romance. Or playing Floyd from True Romance. Either way, it's like,
I don't love it, but I don't have a better suggestion, so I'll roll with it.
Interesting.
All right, who would be second? So okay, listen, we got Brad Pitt in the room. No, of course, Brad Pitt doesn't have to audition, but there are still rooms at Brad Pitt's level.
Well, since there's no auditioning, Russell Crowe as well, then
this reminds me of my Master and Commander days.
Actually, is Joaquin Phoenix?
I feel like he's verging on being a parody of himself. Like, he's just too
weird.
Yeah. Like, you need somebody who will chew the scenery for you.
Oh man, who is the guy? No, he's too old.
Because like Jeffrey,
I was thinking of the guy from Westworld.
Ed Harris.
Anthony Hopkins.
Ed Harris, but he's a little too old, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't.
And,
That's what I'm saying. I don't have a better suggestion than.
Because Tom Cruise could do. I mean, no, excuse me, Tom Cruise. Brad Pitt could do the physicality too. We definitely need somebody where if there's a badass sword fight, it doesn't look stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has to be
like. Go ahead. Rob.
The guy has to be scary, right? I mean,
I just kind of feel like with Brad Pitt, you just like I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time not seeing Brad Pitt as Brad Pitt in any movie that he's in. Like I feel like that just yanks you right out of the movie if it's Brad Pitt. But I don't have a better suggestion.
I always felt that way about DiCaprio until Django. I felt like him just playing an absolute bastard was such a revelation. Like it broke the trance of like, yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio just always plays himself. I don't know.
Okay, I got a hat to throw in the ring, and I know this might seem weird, but Hugh Jackman. I think he's handsome. He's got.
I think Hugh Jackman's a better choice. There it is. That one for me, I buy that a little bit more.
And he will bring theatricality and a half to that role. Right. Here's the problem. I think Brad Pitt would come across as more dangerous. I think he could read as a little bit more unhinged than Hugh Jackman, but it's a little bit six of one, half dozen of the other.
is Josh Brolin?
To Thanos.
I know, but Disney family too.
Yeah. I just feel like he's already been the heavy.
Hugh Jackman's my favorite of the. It's also just I like the. We love Hugh Jackman because he's Wolverine, and you instantly want to like him. So I like putting him in a place where he's likable or to other people, but he's the bad guy. I think nice guys always make the best villains in movies because you're predisposed to liking them.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm down with it. I'm down with Hugh and Brad Pitt being up for the part.
We're gonna do the thing that we always do, I think, on the kids is kind of punt it a little bit because we don't know exactly how to cast 12-year-olds.
The pirate kid is Tom Holland for sure. I mean,
There's
Tom
still a pirate.
Holland's going to be old enough to be the Pirate King by the time that this thing gets made.
I think we cast one young actress. I'll talk about maybe Chloe Grace Moretz age. 8 years to 10 years ago age, who's like she's on the cusp of womanhood. Don't get creepy, but and she can marshal these kids almost like their mother in that Swiss Family Robinson style or whatever. But she's obviously not their mother. She obviously can't be their mother. She's obviously very overwhelmed because she's a child herself, but she's still a young on the come actress. Like Haley Stansfield a few years ago, things of this nature.
No, I mean, you're talking about like a Millie Bobby Brown, but not every female role can go to her. But I think that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the next Millie Bobby Brown.
It's the girl. It's the girl from It, the redheaded girl from It. She was fantastic in that movie. She might be like 17 or 18 now. I think she might be a little bit older, but I don't know. I think she could play 15.
I think that's just fine. You're a 15-year-old or 17-year-old, and you got 3 kids with you, and you're responsible for their lives, and there's pirates about. That's dangerous, man.
Yeah, and that girl is itching for a big Disney style breakout role. I mean, she's very good.
I like her. I think she's got a great gravitas. And if you need somebody else, go through the cast of Euphoria and pick one of them because there's a billion young actors in that show. Casting directors need to poach the hell out of that show.
I mean, you can put Zendaya in this if you need to put another.
You're not wrong.
Name. Yeah,
I'd find a role for Zendaya in this in a heartbeat, 100%. I mean, shoot,
she could play young. Like she still looks like a teenager,
I was going to say she could even already be on Black Caesar's crew, and she could have a little bit of a conflict, like with the it girl or with the kids in general, or it's like if he kind of throws them to her to whip them into shape, they're early in Act 2.
Oh, but how about this? If you don't want to Django it, we could. I don't know what else movie, but like. The sword got taken and Homeboy's little daughter. and now she grew up to be Zendaya or Rihanna, and she's on
That
Pirate
is
Island.
literally Mask of Zorro.
Yeah. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, that movie then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we either steal the technology from one movie or the other movie, I think that could give it a little bit of. He doesn't necessarily have a love interest, but he definitely has something else to go back for. But again, me personally, I want it to be a love interest because I want revenge.
I like a love interest.
Yeah, I want revenge and I want my love back. You know what I'm saying? So Rihanna's a little young to be Homeboy's love interest. Then I mean
she played a space pirate, but Tandy Newton in Solo kind of reminds me of what I could see as like a female equivalent to this character.
I don't know, man. Not to build up Hollywood stereotypes, but Idris and Rihanna, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yeah, me either.
because I know, but when you look at it practically, she's like 30, he's like 56, and he's like, and plus years ago she got taken from him. So how old was she then? We're getting into some Indiana Jones territory. We're getting into some Indiana Jones territory that I don't want to.
Look, you could do both. Hold on, though. I mean, you could do both, right? You could do that. He has a daughter who was taken from him and raised by the pirates, and then you could also do that. He has an unrequited love or a long lost love that had nothing to do with the incident that made him, but is just a woman that he loved who left him and ended up on Pirate Island as well, and they're going to rekindle.
Okay, so Rihanna is the daughter or something, or is it Rihanna Zendaya is daughter style?
Zendaya is the daughter, and then I think Rihanna. I still like Rihanna as a love interest, man.
Actually, she could help the kids rescue him when they come back to rescue him.
I mean, the kids could flip her. You know what I mean? Like if she's on the fence and it's like they need an assist in order to go and rescue him at the end, like the kids convince her that she has to rejoin the cause or whatever. I mean, I think that's in bounds.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like I said, if we have an age appropriate love
agreed.
interest, it would be to me Angela Bassett, because A, she looks young, B, she's super pretty, C, she's got great physicality, and D, I would believe that she lived on Pirate Island without a bunch of bad stuff happening to her for the last 20 years.
And she's in the Disney family, so there you go.
She's in the Disney family, so
I'm down.
I mean, I'm down for, and she looks great in gray dreadlocks or with regular black hair or anything like that. Any of that stuff, she could rock it.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I think we did it. That's awesome. I can't believe it.
All right.
I'm sorry.
No, last question. Who's directing? Who's putting this thing together with this amazing cast and this super cool kind of revenge / Ocean's 11 heist story that we came up with?
I mean, dude,
man,
it's a big question because we don't want to go Gore Verbinski because he's so great and we can't approximate that. That's a big question.
I might have it. Who directed Beasts of the Southern Wild? Oh, come on.
I don't know.
I'm looking it up. Hold on.
I liked that movie. I saw it. I mean,
do we go with Ocean's 12-ish style and ask Steven Soderbergh?
It'd be weird. It'd be interesting. I don't think he's right for it, but I would definitely want to see that version.
All right, the guy who directed Waterworld. He's got an ocean experience.
Just for the record, the guy who directed Beasts of the Southern Wild is a guy named Ben Zeitlin. I just thought that movie was unbelievably beautiful and heartfelt and adventure-filled, while also staying mature, and was just super different and made me absolutely bawl my eyes out. So I don't know. Just a guy who needs to do a movie for us at some point. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. You got one, Billy?
I don't know. I'm having trouble.
This is such an interesting, because it's such a specific style of movie. I think it needs a special hand.
I mean, I kind of want to suggest somebody who hasn't done boat movies before.
I was gonna say you're gonna say no because this guy's filmography is like half of these movies I love and half of them I'm like woof. But I'll throw it out there. What about F. Gary Gray? I think he does kind of the fast-paced action heisty stuff like Italian Job. I think that he can do like a little bit more like with the ensemble, like he did Straight Outta Compton. We just won't talk about like, Men in Black International. I think again, Fast 8, I guess, kind of has a similar-esque vibe. I don't think he's awful. Like he doesn't get me in the theater, but he also doesn't keep me from it.
I mean, he settled into being sort of a journeyman, but journeyman in Hollywood means they trust you with hundreds of millions of dollars, which means you're good, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're the most adventurous filmmaker, which I like F. Gary Gray. I think he deserves to get a shot, but I want somebody with some like visual dynamism, and I like Bill's choice in regards to that. If we could split the difference somehow, like a person who's known a little bit for action, maybe not for maritime dramas, but can do a little bit.
How about Antoine Fuqua, who did Training Day, did the Equalizer movies, did the Magnificent Seven remake?
I think that last one is going to ruin it for me because I don't think that one was very good.
Those tonally just seem like not what we're making, though.
I don't know. Maybe I'm picturing a different tone. Like it is a kids movie, so we'd be asking him to stretch. But like I think this is the kids movie version of Training Day. Like it needs a hard edge to it.
How about Robert Rodriguez?
He would try to do most of this on. I mean, I love him, but he would literally try to do this in a phone booth with green screen, and I just can't. I just can't with that right now.
Fair enough.
2020 is just taking too much from us. I can't do pirates in a phone booth.
Do it.
The funny thing is, I keep thinking about like really dumb movies that nobody should have, like Under Siege. Who directed Under Siege? That doesn't matter, Ron.
Andrew Davis.
Yeah.
of Fugitive fame.
What about maybe I suggest this a lot and I don't even realize it. What about someone like a Matthew Vaughn who has a lot of flair, great with action, I think can balance a couple different tones, something like, a Kingsman or a Kick-Ass.
I just think if you look at those Kingsman and Kick-Ass movies, they feel a lot like Gore Verbinski's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, so why would you not want something that at least spiritually kind of feels...
I'll second this just because, to relate to you, Bill, speak the language you both speak. When the anchor from the previous penciler stays on to keep everybody from freaking out that the penciler is left, because at least the inks kind of look like the previous comic books that people bought, I think that would be much the spirit of what he's doing here. Have it look a little bit like the old ones, but have this new spirit of drama and gravitas that we've given it.
Yeah, I guess I'm more in the market for a hard demarcation. I'm looking for somebody who would reinvent it a little bit more. But
so Ron Howard then.
I'm gonna shoot myself in the face for that.
Look, I generally like to make joke suggestions.
I'm not going to really shoot myself either. So jokes all around.
Here's another one that's just like, why would you pitch this? But it's like, imagine at least what it would look like from a like if we're talking about like kind of redesigning pirates and everything. What if you just brought in Tim Burton to take a crack at it? Tim Burton's Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, it would definitely have a different visual flair.
I don't know. Look, I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't know if he could handle the sort of slavery parable that Ed is baking into this.
Good point.
I would not trust that.
Would you love to see Tim Burton stuck on a boat for 6 months just to see what that hair would look like?
Dude, his skin would burn off. His whole skin would burn off. He would die.
Look, I mean, none of these are bad suggestions. There's something to recommend all of these.
How about Ryan Coogler?
Well, he's going to become a swear jar guy, though. We've given him like 2 movies. So
okay,
I know
then
we've given him like 2 movies.
Who's the guy that did? He just got announced for some new project, and he did Creed 2.
Creed 2, no Creed 1. I will say that. Not that I'm no-anding everything. Stephen Cable Jr. Stephen Cable Jr.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
But no, this guy, he was the Creed 2 director. He just got.
He's doing Transformers.
Yeah, signed to Transformers.
So I don't know. It makes me think, like, is there someone that we can elevate? You know, like this guy, they gave him like Creed 2 and it did fine. And now they're giving him a big blockbuster. I don't see why we can't do the same thing. Some of the names we pitched are the same. Maybe Beast of the Southern Wild guy is like as close as we've gotten to that Creed, you know?
That's what I was saying. That was where my mind went, was for that exact reason, right? To find somebody who can tell, you know, a gritty story with some degree of magical realism that balances those weird tones. And yeah, you'd be giving them a shot at a franchise, not somebody who's known for franchises.
I'll be hipster draft guy and just throw out. I agree with all those suggestions. I think that's a great director's room. I think we've done it. But one last one. There's this movie called His House on Netflix right now, and it has these African people who are going to London as refugees, and there are ocean scenes on that thing that I know they did for $3. That are amazing. They're amazingly immersive. He shows a great ability to like pan from the present day to the past without doing CGI stuff. It seems it's almost like he practically This guy is great. His name is Remy Weeks. Mm-hmm. I would love for him. Just watch that movie. If you don't get anything else from this episode, watch His House. It's a little scary. It's a little freaky deaky, but this guy shows a powerful visual language. I don't know if he's right for this movie, but I just love that. I love that movie and I love that guy.
I love suggestions like that. That's really good. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to call it. I will say, after an exciting and I would almost say invigorating session of rebooting, we have achieved reboot.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Escape from Pirate Island. I love it.
Yes!
We've even got the subtitle.
Yep.
It's amazing.
I love it.
So we've got a group of dilettante children, one of whom or all of whom may or may not have escaped from Pirate Island. They're attacked by pirates. They're marooned. They're shipwrecked on an island, and it just so happens to be one of the stash houses of legendary African pirate Black Caesar. And when he shows up, he finds it in his heart to not murder these kids. And then when another pirate ship approaches his island, he turns back, and wouldn't you know it, he saves the kids. After some classic back and forth of he doesn't want them there and they don't want to be there and they have to find some common ground, they discover that they are both after treasures on the horrifying Pirate Island, a land without law where pirates reign supreme, and they come together to stage a heist in the most dangerous place on Earth, infiltrating Pirate Island. Along the way, we are running into everybody from Zendaya to Rihanna to maybe Angela Bassett to Johnny Depp himself in a one scene. We said get rid of that. He's just in Black Caesar's backstory. So no Johnny Depp on Pirate Island. But at the end of the day, we are going up against the King of Pirate Island, played by either Brad Pitt doing 12 Monkeys Crazy Eyes or Hugh Jackman bringing a whole new viciousness to his wholesome family-friendly persona. And the kids teach Black Caesar there is still honor in the world. Black Caesar teaches the kids that there is more adventure to life than a life of privilege, and they go on for more sequels as a brand new ragtag pirate crew doing things differently. Did I miss anything?
Wow.
That is a hell of a movie, guys.
That's straight. That's pretty impressive.
Dude, I mean, the steel trap mind of Bill is one of the things that people come here to marvel over.
Well, if you guys at home are marveling at the work that we do here on Reboot It, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, keep coming back. We are here every single Saturday. This is a very clockwork operation we're running here. Every Saturday, you're getting a new episode. We're going to the end of the year. We got some big ones coming up next, including our Viewers' Choice episode. So, you guys have voted. You've dropped your crazy John Peters suggestions. Wait for it, people, because we have got a heck of an episode coming up next week. We're going to tease it in our posts, so make sure you're subscribed so you see our YouTube community posts. In the meantime, we're the Reboot Crew. I am producer Bill for Billy Business. for Ron Swallow, and for Ed Greer. We'll see you next time.